What the hell? No, I'm so sorry, but no. Today, Super Mario Bros. Wonder came out. That doesn't matter though, because we've got more Sonic Superstars to talk about. That's right, the most divisive soundtrack of the year came out this week, and in the last video we checked out the first few songs from the OST. Today we're gonna listen to more of the soundtrack, including the song everyone wanted me to check out. I'm LongestSoloEver here on LongestSoloEver 2. I'm a music producer and lifelong Sonic fan, and we are gonna dig deep into what makes this soundtrack the way it is. But first, if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button down below for more videos like this one posted every week. First up is the song that everyone requested I take a listen to, and that's Speed Jungle Zone. And okay, so I had an immediate reaction when I played through the game on stream, and just remember this is a jungle level when you take a listen to this, and see if you have the same thought I did. Is there something weird about throwing tribal chanting in like the beginning of the jungle level? It kind of smells like, you know, oh, it's a desert level, put sitar everywhere. Like, for one, it's kind of cliche, and two, it just feels a little, I don't even have a good word for what it feels like, but it's not great. So now we're gonna move past that and look at the rest of the music, okay? But I felt like I had to mention that. Questionable chanting aside, this is a really, really good intro to a song. We're seeing really good choice of sounds here. These are great, like modern and wide variety of sounds we're working with. There's some sick electronic percussion and drum loops going on, and most importantly, the tension is building throughout this whole intro. Listen to how it rises over the course of these like 16 bars. We're starting here. Nice relaxed level, but a little tense. Ramp it up, the kick drum comes in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that great fanfare just launching you forward into the next section. Oh, this is really cool. This is fun. Okay, so we're in the key of E flat. Right, we're grooving on that throughout the whole intro. And then the melody and the bass go in two different directions. Do you remember what I was complaining about on the boss theme? The melody and the bass were playing the exact same thing, and it locks you out of doing interesting things. And what I meant by that was it just like prevents you from having your melody interact with the chord progression in any way, right? If you have a chord progression that goes, you want to be able to have a melody that doesn't just go, it could go, you know, like interest. This takes it to a whole other level, and we're getting this really interesting contrary motion where the two voices are moving away from each other. And each new step creates a new combination of notes, a new chord, effectively. The bass is walking down. The melody is walking up. They end in the same place, though. They're diverging, and they land in the same place an octave apart. Each of these steps makes a new chord. This is a B major. We have a B flat, could be B flat minor, B flat major, not sure. A flat 7, A flat minor 7. Yeah. F minor, which, hey, in the key of E flat, this is the 2, right? And then where do we go after that? This big B flat, that's our 5 chord. And it wants to go back to 1. Yeah, that works. And at the end of that, we have that nice 2, 5, 1. Let's see where this goes from here. Yeah, this is good. This is real good. Okay. So many cool things happening here. For one, these sounds are fantastic. The samples we're working with sound super fun and bouncy and catchy. But for another, we're working with what's called mode mixture. And all that means is, like, we're in the key of E flat, right? But is it E flat minor? Or E flat major? Well, in the intro, yeah, it was E flat minor. This whole... That's plain E flat minor, as plain as day. But then this melody comes in. That's an E flat major chord right there. So how do we go from minor to major? Doesn't matter. It's fun. It sounds good. It's a surprise, and it opens up the palette of choices that the composer can work with. In this case, he's actually using a mode that's almost halfway between major and minor. It's got elements of both, and it's called Mixolydian. It's like a major scale, except this second to last note is a little lower. It's the one from the minor scale that would be there if you were playing an E-flat minor scale. And that gives you what's called E-flat Mixolydian. And it's this really cool, like, it gives you such fun flavor in your melodies, in your chord progressions. And he's even working in a little chromatic stuff outside of that scale. He's working in between those scale tones. It's so much fun. Also, listen to how much he repeats this motif. That's like the defining characteristic of this song so far. How many times does he actually repeat that in this first section? 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay, so he's going with like a pop melody structure here, where you do the same basic thing 3 times and then you change it up. Think of like Stay by the Kid Laroi. That's 3. I realized I don't know how to play that song. That 4th time, it's switched up, right? It's like A, 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 B. That is such an easy formula to apply in your melodies. Just have 3 of the same phrase play, or switch it up a little bit like T does here, and then do something completely different to cap it. It strikes that perfect balance of repetition and new material that the brain loves to hear when it's hearing music. Also, this is just so fun and bouncy and syncopated. Syncopated meaning it's not happening right on the downbeat. We're not dealing with like... You know, that's boring. Those in-between hits just like scratch the brain in such a fun way. I love it. Ooh. Yeah. Whoa. What is that chord? What is that chord? What's happening? Oh man, this is so funky. Okay, I knew this sounded familiar. I knew it was something I knew how to do. I just haven't tried it this specific way before. Okay, so first off, we have changed keys. We're no longer in E flat. We left that far behind when we hit this new section. We are now in the world of A flat. Right? Now, there is a chord, this special fancy borrowed chord that I love so much in the major scale, and it's called the minor 4. And what that means is, when we talk about chords, we're always talking about numbers in the key, right? So if we're in A flat, then A flat is 1, B flat is 2, C is 3, D flat is 4, right? There's our 4 chord. But what if we played it minor now? It sounds so like somber and melancholy. It's this bittersweet tone. And it really wants to go back to 1. And going 4, minor 4, 1 is like just it's one of the saddest chord progressions in the world, and I love it so much. And then we just briefly have to talk about another concept called inversions. And an inversion, all it means is normally the bass plays the root of the chord. If you're playing a D flat chord, the bass is playing a D flat. It's the thing it's named after. It's what it says on the box. Now, an inversion is when you play something up in the bass, a different note from the same chord. So we have 3 notes here, right? So we have 2 other inversions we could go to. This is D flat, but what if it was over F instead? Or over A flat? And this actually sounds really cool, going between regular A flat and then D flat, but with an A flat in the bass. It kind of builds tension without going anywhere, and then comes back. I like it. What T is doing here is doing that 4, minor 4, 1 thing that I talked about, that bittersweet chord progression, but he never leaves A flat in the bass. So we get... And it sounds so cool. In the context of this chord progression, it sounds like this. Here's A flat, up to the D flat. This is like a suspended chord thingy. And then he voices it. It sounds like this. Which we could analyze so many different ways, but I'm feeling this as a D flat minor 6. We add the 6th note of D flat into there, which sounds just especially spicy. Going back to 1. I love it. Okay, I can stop gushing about that one chord now. Listen to that timbral contrast. Oh, timbre is an important word. Timbre is the difference between a piano and a saxophone playing the same note and why they sound different. It's the reason you and me sound different singing the same note. It's everything about the quality of a note that isn't its pitch. It's spelled like this and it looks like timbre. It's not, it's timbre. I don't know why. French people, probably? Yeah, it's French people. And so when I say timbral contrast, I mean a contrast in the way the actual sounds are. Okay, vocab lesson over, sorry. But listen to this contrast between like the fun, that fun like jungle instrumental situation, and then this weird just like crunchy synth that comes in. I love that. And listen to that repetition. We have that nice idea, right? And then you know, we just repeat that nice idea because it's fun and the brain likes hearing things twice. What just happened there? What just happened there? I have a feeling he just pulled a bunch of crazy chords to get us back to E flat minor. That's probably where we're going now. I was wrong. I was so wrong. They're just cool chords. We're not there yet. When in doubt, if you're trying to figure out what the hell is going on, listen for the bass part first, and that's what I can hear here. And then just try chords that have that bass note in them. The bass is almost always going to be playing one of the 3 notes in the chord you're listening for. So now it's just kind of like process of elimination, finding which one it actually is. Bonus if you can use the melody too. So like, I know these 3 notes, that's an A flat major chord. We're just doing an inversion of that. We have a C in the bass. This makes sense as a B flat over D. This feels like G flat major. Yeah. This is all I'm doing. I don't have some magic powers that let me like immediately hear what complex chords are. Like for easy ones, yeah, I can follow because I've heard these chord progressions a million times in every key over the years. But for more complex stuff, I listen to the bass part, I listen to the melody, and that just kind of like whittles it down what it could possibly be. And then I choose the most likely option. Ah. This is so much fun. This is just such a fun melody. I love it. Yeah. Oh, it's such a cool chord to end this part on. Okay, so there's one other cool thing you can do in terms of aligning a chord progression and bass, and that's have the chord be something entirely unrelated to the bass. This is an E over F sharp. Sometimes it's fun to just combine chords and bass notes that are not the same thing, not even an inversion, just a totally different note. I'd recommend putting them in the same key at least, but you get such cool sounds. I love it. Does this sound like a downgrade in terms of sound quality to anyone else? I don't know if it's the arrangement or the actual samples used, but again, that synth sound just sounds so default. It's playing that that thing right there. Oh man, did you hear? Okay, I hate picking on stuff. I really hate picking on stuff, but I have to pick on this because this is something my like music producer brain picks up on, and it just like makes me scream. Listen to the flute as it goes in the right ear. Okay. That thing right there, it's very subtle, but flutes are monophonic instruments. They can only make one sound at a time. You can't play two notes on a flute at once, right? I mean, okay, like Greg Patillo can, but I'm talking about in an actual playing situation. These notes would be entirely separate from each other, and I can hear them bleeding into one another. And what that means is we're working with a really cheap flute sample, which has a little bit of release to it, because yeah, when you stop playing a flute note, it kind of rings for a second. But it doesn't do that when you actually move down the keys. The note will physically follow the movement of your fingers and will not bleed into each other. That's physically impossible. And if we were working with real like chiptune sounds, that'd be one thing. But no, we have like kind of this thing that sits in the uncanny valley between a really nice modern sample and the kind of cheaper sounding romplers of like the 90s. And I just don't like the way these flute notes are bleeding into each other. That flute as a whole, it just like doesn't feel good. This comes back to what I was saying last time. It doesn't feel like this is one soundtrack together. This feels like it was composed for an entirely separate game by an entirely separate team. The Sonic games have always had a huge team of musicians working on them. So I think with the exception of the first Sonic game, there's always been at least a few composers. I know Sonic 3 had like 6 of them. Mega Man X, too, always had like several composers on it. And yet those feel like cohesive soundtracks. There's not something that sticks out as being like, where did that come from? And this is something about the way this is arranged, where there's just this one like plodding bass line. And then this, I don't know. Nothing feels arranged about this. Nothing feels like it was taken with intention and spread out across a bunch of instruments designed to complement each other. And that's bumming me out. I don't know. Oh, good. Those guitars are back. I really like that those guitars became like the motif for bosses in this game. What the hell? No. I'm so sorry, but no. Like, I have a problem with those guitar sounds at the beginning. Yeah, I was ragging on them last time. And like, that was a matter of personal taste. This just genuinely, I don't think it works. And I'll tell you why. It's because of the frequency range they chose to put that melody in. Okay, so you've got your bass line, and the bass is playing pretty high, actually, for a bass. Like, it's not playing down here in this range. And then you've got this melody playing in the same range as the bass. So now you have a bass going while your melody, I don't even know if I can physically do this. Like, it sounds like that. It sounds like that's happening. I don't like that one bit. I'm so sorry. That is like an instant no-go for me, is having your melody and your bass play in the same range, especially because as you get lower in frequencies, those notes get closer together. Like, okay, look here up in the high range of the piano, we're at like the 88th key. The difference between two keys is over 200 hertz. And hertz is the measurement of frequencies. It's how many vibrations per second the thing is doing, the string or the air in the saxophone, whatever. And look at that. The difference between this C, which is 4,200 hertz, and this B, which is 3,900 hertz, has like almost 300 hertz. Now, let's go all the way down here to the bottom of the piano. The difference from this C, which is 32 hertz, and this B, which is 30 hertz, is 2 hertz. That's literally 100 times difference between these two ranges. So yeah, when you're playing up in this range of the piano, you can do these crazy cluster chords like, you know, that kind of thing. It sounds nice up there because there's separation between the frequencies. You can't do that down here. It doesn't work. And you definitely can't squeeze a melody and a bass line into the same notes. Okay, we're back in speed jungle. Hopefully this is better. I got in a bad mood there. Ooh. Let's talk about these two chords right off the bat. Yeah, this is cool. This is fun. So already this feels like from a mile away, like T-Lopes, right? He loves these kind of jazzy... This is such like a 90s and 2000s EDM influence. A lot of like house music and drum and bass and jungle music was using these cool like... like moving around these chords because they were working with samples. So they just sample a chord and then they could move that sample around everywhere. The chord tonality couldn't change. It can't be major and then minor because you literally just have a recording of this chord that you're shoving up and down the piano. But we end up getting these really cool new tonalities that kind of defy the laws of what music theory was for so long. But they sound really cool and they build tension in this very unique way. I love it. Listen to that drum beat. I mean, this is straight from like drum and bass lineage. This doesn't feel anything like Act 1 though. I'm not even hearing like the melody of it. Remember we were talking last time about how the Act 2 music is usually a remix of the first act in some way, right? I want to hear maybe some of that melody, at least an implication of that melody. I don't mind it. This is fun. Listen to the choice of texture here and the balance throughout the whole frequency spectrum. We talk a lot about the frequency spectrum in terms of mixing. We talk about balancing, cutting the highs out of your bass to make room for the guitars, cutting the mids out of the guitars to make room for the vocals. But what we don't talk about nearly as often is the frequency spectrum in terms of your instrument choice. And yeah, we can shove things into place with EQ and try to force a balance across the frequency spectrum, but it's so nice to just have that balance in the first place because you picked the right instruments, you built the right team. It's easier to have a full range of frequencies when you have a bass, a pad covering the middle, a flute playing the high frequencies, hi-hats and the drums covering the highs. Like it just balances out across the board well. And that's what good orchestration is, good arranging. You don't need to work to make that flute stand out because it just does. There's nothing up there fighting against it. There's no instrument in that area. It's a little short, but it's fun. Next up is Sky Temple Zone. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'm going to play you something. You tell me what you hear. Listen to this drum beat now. Like, literally, it's the same thing, right? It's a different, like, specific line, and I think we're in a different key, but that's very clearly meant to evoke the launch bass zone. And I support this. I'm not mad at paying homage to past levels. There is something late. If this is the level I'm thinking about, there is something later that I am mad about and I didn't like. Okay, do you notice I'm not, like, connecting with this a ton? And I didn't rush to the piano to play this because I can't figure out what's going on, and not because it's incredibly complicated, not because it's the million chords that were thrown at us in the Jungle Act 1, but because I literally can't hear the harmonic progression right now. Listen for that bass. It's all the way back there, and it's just kind of, like, wandering around, it feels like. The bass line and the keyboard instruments are supposed to lead you through the chord progression, and right now it feels like they're kind of both off in their own world. I can barely hear the keyboards. They're like an afterthought in this whole situation, and really all I can hear is the melody and that the bass is doing something. It feels like a lot of things are trying to imply their own chord progression, but none of them are quite adding up to me. This is good. This is cool. That was a cool chord there. That was cool. I think they did the minor 4 thing again. What the hell is that? I don't like that string sample. I feel like I like the concept of there being a pizzicato string sample there. I would just like a different one. I'm sorry. But I don't just want to rag on this. Like, there's cool stuff here. I liked the intro. I do like the, again, timbral contrast in this section. Listen to this. Going from the string picks to like the other instruments answering it, this call and response situation. That was a little weird. We didn't get an answer there. The other synth just kind of like interrupted it and started wandering around. I think this is an issue of arranging. Arranging being the choice of what everything plays in order to communicate the song you've written. When you write a song, you write basically a melody, a chord progression, and maybe some important motifs that you want played in there, right? And then arranging, you take that melody, that chord progression, and you decide how a full range of instruments are going to communicate that to the listener. And in my opinion, the arrangement is what's failing us most here. It doesn't really clearly communicate what's actually happening to me. You saw how easily I picked up on the Speed Jungle chord progression and the Bridge Island Zone one in the last episode, right? But I'm literally at a loss here. I could take the time to really dig into this and figure out what's going on, but I feel like it's incredibly unclear the way it's being presented. I want to say I truly love the work of everyone on this soundtrack. I don't mean any negative sentiment towards them. I also wonder like how much time they were given. A lot of times in these cases where you see artwork that's lackluster in the end result, you know, they had not a lot of time to turn it around, not a lot of time to do revisions. A lot of this is what early demos sound like. A lot of great concepts are there, but they just haven't been properly fleshed out and refined and pruned to that like exact magnificence that we're looking for in a soundtrack. I don't think this should reflect badly on any of the composers, and I still love their work. So what do you want to see me react to next time? Leave it in the comments down below and we'll take a listen. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, hit that button down below for more videos like this one posted every week. And as always, this video is brought to you by Quick Start Music. That's my collection of online music production courses built to help you make music the way you want to. If you use the code LSE at checkout, you'll get 50% off your order. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.